Black man, black fam, black fam. Welcome to Black Dad Code, where everything we do before family, nothing before family. This episode is brought to you by Pura, the Green Room Dispensary, and Major High. And y'all know me, I'm Kelly Major.
I'm Kevin Bailey.
And I'm Charles Williams.
Today, we'll be interviewing Mr. Benny Hayes. What's going on, Mr. Hayes? How you doing today?
Honored to be here, gentlemen. Happy to be
Welcome,
here.
Mr. Hayes.
Met
Welcome,
everybody.
welcome,
Enjoyed the
welcome.
company so far.
Me and Mr. Hayes met working together at Honda, selling cars. And Mr. Hayes, would you introduce yourself to everyone and tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. My name is Benny Hayes. I was born and raised in a farming community about 80 miles that way, Vian, Oklahoma. We were raised on a farm about 45 acres. We were pretty self-sufficient. We grew our own groceries, raised our own cattle. The only thing we got from town was milk and eggs and, well, maybe not even eggs, but my father would raise me, me and my sister. My father divorced my mother for infidelity, and my grandparents lived next door, and we went over there to eat. But it was pretty good childhood. Like I said, we were raised during the Civil Rights Movement, and we'll elaborate on that later. And if anything else you want to know, just ask.
So question, so did you live with your dad after your parents separated?
Yes, he had his own house, but like I said, my grandmother lived next door, and she did all the cooking. So my grandmother would tell the story where I would go over there in the morning, I would run back, and I would say, "Hey, Tutta, grandma's cooking biscuits." So we would go over there and we would eat.
So, Miss Hayes, just tell us about that, just having that family community that y'all had with you, having your grandmother live right next door. I mean, like, just...
It was normal. I mean, everything just seemed normal. We were happy. We felt secure.
Gotcha.
And like I said, we were self-sufficient. We didn't rely on the government, but we did get government food, and it was a brick of cheese, a sack of rice, a bag of beans, a can of Spam, and some dried beans. I mean, but it was enough to sustain you, but it was also enough to make you want to do better.
Do better.
You wasn't paying $9 for eggs, though. I bet you that.
Like in this climate, yeah, exactly.
So then, you said you was in the town out in Vian, so what brought you to Tulsa?
I went to school at Northeastern. I had a scholarship to OU for music. It was a partial scholarship. I played in the band and I played the trumpet, but my teacher got me a partial scholarship at OU. Being a little country boy, I didn't want to venture that far away from home. Northeastern was like 14 miles from Vian. So I went to Northeastern, met some guys. They would invite me to come to Tulsa to spend time with them and their family. They just liked me and I liked them. Me and a guy, we got suspended from college at the same time. He invited me to spend the summer here with him.
Why did y'all get suspended, Mr. Hayes?
We had a panty raid.
Oh,
and,
what's a panty raid?
Panty raid, what's a
And
panty raid?
it was
To
a
people
hot,
who haven't been to college.
it was a hot summer day, and like I said, I played in the band, and I kept my horn there with me, and everybody was gathering outside, and I raised the window, and I blew on my trumpet, and everybody looked around and said, "Charge!" and it just ignited. And anyway, I got caught, he got caught, and we were suspended.
Okay.
But I came to Tulsa, got a job out at Sun Oil Refinery. I was making more money than most college graduates, so I stayed. I stayed.
Okay.
It was good money.
It was good money.
So then, is that when you met your wife now, or?
This is my second wife, but I met her at a club, my second wife. And today is our 44th anniversary. We were married 44 years ago today. And it ain't been easy. I mean, it ain't been easy. It's been held together with baling wire and clothespins.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I seen an interview the other day with Viola Davis, you know, the famous actress, and she said, you know, being in a marriage, you're not really in love, or you don't really know you love that person till you look over one day and say like, I want to kill that man. No, she said these are the words that came out of her mouth. But then again, she said, I'll do anything for him and I wouldn't want nobody else to do. But she said, you're really not, that marriage doesn't start until you look over and be like, I want to choke the hell out of him. So, I mean, but 44 years is an amazing feat, especially that's real black love right there.
Well, did you have any children by your first wife?
I had a daughter. I'm not gonna mention any names, but she was a LA Laker cheerleader. She danced in Broadway for maybe 10 years in The Lion King. And in the last thing she did, she was in a production of Oprah Winfrey's Color Purple.
Oh, wow.
And but she had really a charmed life. She really did. She was a sweet girl. Is a sweet girl. 50 years old right now, though.
How many children do you totally have?
I have 3 biological, 1 by my first wife. The current wife I have now, the one I've been married to for 44 years, had a daughter, and we have 2 sons together. So I have 4 kids altogether.
Okay.
5. You forgot y'all
Dr. Man, he's a little off.
No, they always tell me that him and his wife, like, you're our adopted son.
So how does parenting in the black community in Tulsa, Oklahoma, how do you feel like that's going? And then what are the age, how old are the kids?
My oldest is 50.
50? Oh, okay.
My stepdaughter, who she just turned. No. My oldest is 51. My stepdaughter just turned 50 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
The son I have with my current wife, my 2 sons, he's 35.
Okay.
And my youngest baby, he's 30.
Okay. All right.
He ain't a baby. Man, no, it's funny. We always call our kids, they are babies no matter what, no matter how old you get. So, can you tell me about your relationship with your dad and your granddad and how that influenced you to the man you are today?
Well, let me say one thing, that I never saw my father or my grandfather wash a dish, sweep a floor. But I never saw my grandmother bale hay, feed the cows, plow the fields.
So you're saying that was chores for the different, say, for male, female?
I'm saying that the relationships have gotten off kilter. I mean, like I said, I never saw my father wash dishes, and I just thought that was normal. I mean, I just thought that was normal. I mean, men don't wash dishes and women don't plow the fields. But my father and grandfather always taught me to be neat, to speak properly, be respectful. See, people get the fear of God wrong. I mean, I feared God the way I feared my father, and that was I didn't want to disappoint him. That's how you approach that. I didn't want to disappoint my father, and that was the fear I had in me of disappointing my father. I didn't want to do that.
And didn't you move to Tulsa and stay with your grandfather? Or didn't you
No.
live with your grandfather for a while?
Okay. At 10 years old, my father moved away and got a job in Kansas City, Missouri. My father only finished 11th grade.
Right. Okay.
And he went and got a job at IBM. And he moved up. Anyway, I remember my father coming home one day and he said he felt like he had really made it. And he said, my car is air conditioned, my house is air conditioned, and my job is air conditioned. And he felt that was a milestone for him.
It was, right.
Hey, he wasn't breaking his back.
But
I mean, yeah.
when my father moved away, then we moved over to my grandparents' house in Vian. We moved in my grandparents' house.
So currently, I mean, I know I'm gonna kind of flip the page to some current stuff now. You know, just here recently, we had some police officers, you know, that was African American or black, you know, beat this young man, you know, to death. I'm like, how do you feel about the state of the police and that happening in our communities?
Kelly asked me to watch the video, and I wasn't going to watch it. I
Right.
wasn't going to watch it, but I watched it anyway. I always I tell my kids, my children, my daughters, I said nothing good happens after midnight. Nothing good happens after midnight, and evil is never satisfied. But what I saw was pure evil. It was pure evil. But that's the state we're in now. I mean, the criminals are different, and the police officers are different. I hate to admit it, but these police officers, they're scared. They're scared.
Because they have a tough job
They're
too as
scared.
well. They have a tough job.
And honestly, the police officers I see, I don't know how they can handle a man. I mean, they're ill-equipped physically, I think, and I think they're ill-equipped emotionally to handle the kind of criminals that are out there now.
Well, I would say on that point, so yeah, they are ill-equipped, and I think a lot of it has to do with the lack of training. And I will say these are my opinions; these are not the opinions of the show. So there's a lack of training, but on the same note too, we do see them where they go in and there's these mass shootings of these, and I hate to put it like this, of these white or Caucasian shooters, and they're able to apprehend these people in a correct manner. So it can be done, and it's not that they are that scared. It's just like I said too, there's something going on that, like I said too, when it's apprehending us of our race, where we're having an issue getting that done in a way that's accepted.
It's the differences in the communities and the societies is what I see. I see, because I live in Jenks, and where I live at, the police don't act like that because they know that that's a wealthy community, and they'll be accountable for their actions.
Right.
And they're accustomed to dealing with people of money and influence, so their mannerism and their habits are different. They have more protocol.
So you say it's culture.
It's culture. It's the
culture.
culture of the environment.
It don't
And
have
then-
nothing to do with privilege.
Well, you got
yes, I definitely feel privilege is in there. Like I said, I feel they know that if they get out of line in those communities, there's going to be repercussions. Then the opposite happens when they come to our communities. When they come to our communities, we're like in those communities, they're there to serve and protect.
Yeah.
And our communities, they're there to check and regulate.
Oh, wow.
The difference in mentalities, because they come with a bullying attitude. Who you talking to? A cocky, I'm better than you. I run things around here. You know what I'm saying? Like them police, they were mad because he ran my leg. They was making a joke about it. Like one of them, like my leg was hurting me all day, but I was gonna catch him and this and that. Like what?
They were in a special force.
That was the
And
Scorpion.
but they've disbanded now. But like you said, it was a mental thing with them. They probably did have they did have an attitude that
Definitely have.
Right.
That's
That-
one
It
thing.
seemed like
They
it
were
was
part
some
of
kind
this
of
special
vendetta
force.
against him.
I mean,
I don't know. It was deeper than what we. It was
Right.
deeper than me.
It's
Because
deeper.
Why would they do that to him?
Yeah, but
Stand
man-
him up and just keep socking him in his face over and over and over. And this is shown on video already, so it's not nothing new that we not already, acknowledging or seeing. Why would they just keep standing him up and the other officers keep standing him up and letting him, keep socking on him? They might want to say he was on SHRM, PCP, or whatever, and he was stronger than most people, but that didn't make it. It was 5 against 1. So who's not going to be vulnerable in that situation?
I mean, to me, I look at it too, man. It's a lack of leadership. Like there was no leader there. Everybody was a follower at that point. So, and the thing that I hate to look at it too is like in that scenario, it should have been the best case scenario because it was us pulling over us.
Yeah.
Now, never in this day would I think us pulling over us would be like that. And I think
I do.
You-
It's because I'm from the streets. I'm from that element, and us acts the worst to us.
remember that scene from Boys to Men? That shocked me. Remember that scene from
Yeah.
Boys and Men where that, that,
Oh
Exactly
yeah,
the scene.
from
Right.
Boys in the Hood.
that is stuck in
Boys
my
the
mind.
Hood.
Boys in
Yeah,
the Hood.
that's stuck
Yeah,
in
when
your
that
head.
when that
yeah.
black cop.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how
Yeah.
they do
Yeah.
us. When we was out there young and we was breaking the law, true. And they acted like we was the lowest scum of earth because we was breaking the law. So whatever they did to us, they had a right to do because we was the scum of the earth because of the way, the things that we did.
Gotcha.
So when you got that kind of mentality about a person and you think you're better, and also they want to show
That
the other officers that I'm with y'all,
Yeah.
I'm not with
I'm
them.
blue. I'm not
blue,
black.
so they extra out.
But check this out though, and this is one thing I say too in this whole deal. Even though that they were they're blue and watch how these boys get dealt with. And this is the thing too.
Right.
Y'all played yourselves
Yeah.
out because
Yeah.
at the end of the day,
It's gonna
ain't
be
nobody
different too.
ain't nobody standing
It's
with
gonna
y'all.
be-
Y'all boys about to get tossed
Yeah.
completely under the bus. I mean, like I said,
Y'all
and
about
watch
to catch the heat for everybody that came before y'all.
Watch the punishment on this one. It's gonna be something that you ain't never seen. And like I said, too,
Yeah.
they deserve it.
Right,
But
they deserve
watch
it.
Watch you back y'all on this one. So like I said too, that's one thing I kind of looked at too, and I'm like, yeah, y'all about to see how.
And I guess they looked at the video too and saw that that's a heinous act. Unlike those other videos could have been questioned. Say like George Floyd, like he was just putting his knee on his neck to hold him down till the other people came. But these guys are standing this guy up, punching him on video. So that's gonna be their argument on how swiftly they, brought these guys to justice or whatever. But it's nothing like the, back in 92, 93, the Rodney King thing, where you seen the police just beating on Rodney King, and they all got acquitted for, their actions, but it was on video to show that. But then you have 5 black officers in that same situation, and they brung them swiftly, murder charges, suspended them. They got fired. They didn't get suspended without pay or none of that.
That's
So
what I'm saying.
that's how you have to dig deep into that FOP or whatever. I know some of this stuff that I'm saying might get me followed or killed by some of those guys, but it has to change though.
Let me ask y'all this, and I was talking to my wife about this. Watching that video and seeing like the Rodney King video, which one do you felt was worse?
No, that one was worse.
So that's why
That was worse.
And the thing is, I'm gonna be honest with
The
you.
Memphis thing was worse.
I honestly, man, and I'll be honest with you, and this is one thing too. I saw it, and I didn't finish the video because I mean,
Me neither.
It was so.
I didn't finish
It was
it,
to the
yeah.
point where I
I didn't
feel
wanna
so many
finish
type
seeing
of
that.
emotions coming that.
Right.
And I really said this too. For my mental health, like it was best for me not to watch that video in its entirety
And
because
this is something I would like to say because y'all all right. These guys are about to get done.
oh, they about to be
And
out.
for future, this is to other black officers who are doing this. We are not going to get the same leniency and overlooking things as other races again. So therefore, you got to be more on your A game and more by the books and more professional than anyone else. Because with the cries and the outcries and the videos coming, somebody sooner or later was going to have to be a martyr to the cause.
Yeah, and they.
And they about to be
They
the
about to
martyr
be
to the
complete,
cause.
yeah.
But then it's like, once you give the people though, how they say blood, you can't stop giving them blood then. They want it. Like they said, once you feed the dog blood, it's a different animal.
It's a different animal.
And so once you do this, so therefore it ain't gonna go back for us as officers where you could do the things you do and you get away with it.
And another thing is that in these situations, like with Tyree Nichols, let's say Floyd, let's say Terrence Crutcher here in Tulsa, let's say back in the day, 1992, 93, with the guy out of LA, I can't, the name is not coming, Rodney King is coming up. They saying these guys were under the influence of PCP. And I've sold PCP, I've had uncles, cousins, mothers, aunts, everybody. I've seen them on PCP, and that is a drug that's out of this world. You do become a superhuman. You do become a super, you break out of handcuffs. If that's one thing, you run down the street with all your clothes off. You're just in another state of mind. And to me, on that Memphis video, I think they believed or knew that guy was on PCP. I'm not saying, this is just my view. This is nobody else's view. And that's what I think them officers, that's why they was doing him like that. And if you listen to what they're saying in the video, like, hey, I gave him 4 haymakers all the way, and he still was standing up. That guy was high as, and that's PCP. And PCP is running rapid throughout these broke communities because it's one of the cheapest highs that you can get. Us being in the weed, business now, or marijuana business, I still to this day, in front of my shops, in front of, some of my, storefronts, I still see people high on PCP. I still see them high on PCP, and they don't know how to think. They think they rule the world. You can't tell them nothing. You can't tell them anything at all. So that might be those guys' argument, but the argument, the visual is in itself, though.
Because you could have cuffed them, you could detain them, you could take them into custody.
Right.
So therefore, you had numerous opportunities. So therefore, the continuance of the beating was unnecessary.
Yeah.
You know, once you cuff a person, you throw them in the car. I don't care what they on.
Right.
It's a different scenario.
It's a different
So
scenario.
you had the ability to do those things, and you chose not to. You was upset with the fact that you had to exert that much energy to detain him, that you was gonna make him pay for that and know
like
that he ruined your day.
Yeah, this seemed like the guy who was doing the haymakers, like he was fucking his wife or his girlfriend or something. Cause that seemed personal to me.
Right.
That seemed really personal.
Right.
I'm just throwing that
No,
out.
as y'all can see, this topic is hot right now, and it's one thing that has a lot of emotion around it. But we'll get back into it because, like I said, this is going to be something that's going to be going on, and it'll be something we talk about for the next few weeks. But so, Mr. Hayes,
yes, sir.
We'll jump back into so we're just passionate about what's going on. Are any of your children married?
One.
Okay.
Which one?
Solomon, the oldest son.
Okay.
He has any children?
He has 5
That's fine.
Okay.
by different women.
Okay.
5, so one apiece.
Set of twins.
Oh, yeah, set of twins. Okay.
So, Mr. Hayes, what is your opinion? What's the current state of the black family in our community?
I'll be honest with you, we're at the point of no return. Really, I'm at the school system is, I have 3 of my family members, my sister, my son, and my wife in the Tulsa public school system. They're dealing with children that are just lost. When you got a 4-year-old child who refuses to go to the bathroom and would rather defecate on themselves, walk up to the teacher and slap a diaper on the desk and say, "Change me." We got problems.
Wow.
But
See, that's deep right there. That's deep.
they talk about the kids come to school ill-dressed, not fed, dirty, ill-mannered. It's really a crisis. It's really a crisis.
And that's all in the black community.
And no, it's in all
In all-
communities.
in all-
I'm sure it's in all communities.
Because it's
You see
going
that,
up.
But my wife, she works with preschoolers, and like they're 4, 5, and 6 years old, and they're totally out of control. She spent her money, gave them all gifts, and one of them, talked about it like, I don't like this.
It wasn't enough.
And she said, well, we'll give it back. The whole class said, well, give them back.
Really?
The whole class chanted that. We'll give them back. But it's sad. It's
So
really
I'll ask
sad.
you this on that. So I definitely see where you're coming from because the teachers are dealing with stuff that you know, they've never dealt with before. I see some of these videos where these students are fighting the teachers and stuff like that, and it's just, it really does bring sadness to my heart, because like I said too, at the end of the day, these teachers are just there trying to teach. What do you feel like the black fathers can do to make this situation better? I mean, what can
Black fathers are really not involved. Each year we have Christmas, Thanksgiving, we have 16 to 20 people over our house. None of them are married. None of them are married. Fathers, it's I hate to say it, but like
Say the truth.
we're at the point of no return, gentlemen. I mean, we're in a society now that they don't honor families. It's a sad situation. It really is. I'm just like I used to say, nothing surprises me. But when I hear some of the stories that are told to me about what's going on in the school system, I'm in shock and in awe.
Well, I mean, you're in the right spot, Michelle. This is why we got this podcast, because we want to point out these things that, like I said too, are happening and stuff that we need to kind of correct as us and make it better. But like I said too, yeah, don't hold back, because like I said, this is where we need to air it out. We need to talk through these things.
Yeah, especially at that age. That's a new generation, that 4 and 5 year old, you know, in that case. That's another that's the next generation. Yeah, and you telling me they doing things like this. So like you said, we at the point of no return. We need to clean this up and fix it. We need to fix this.
Yeah.
We need to
Mr. Williams said last week, he said it was sad how many of, he gave a statistic, I think he said like 20 or 30% of black women are married, and like 50% of black men are married because we marry other races.
Right.
So the men are actually marrying more than the women.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about it now, because he said that last week. Remember, he said that the women, black women,
you're right.
marry 20 to 30% of them are married, and the black men 50%. So because a lot of us marry the white women or natives or Indian or Asians or other races, but so the men are actually married more than the women. So, and looking at that, what you're saying, so you got all these single women raising these kids that so-called don't need a man in their life. They can do it all themselves. Yeah. But if we're looking at the numbers, less of our women are married than our men. And then another statistic that was brought to my attention recently was in single-family homes, that when the mother is the single parent, like 70, 80% of the children go to prison or have problems. But when the dad is the single parent, only like 20%. It's the opposite.
So there is a need.
So there is a need for father, because dads bring that needed discipline.
And it's always, like me chiming in on that, because like I said, I have 10 kids by 7 different, women. And they always at a certain point, like at the, say 9, 10-year-old stage, like, this motherfucker is hard-headed as fuck. He won't listen to shit I say. Can you come get his ass? I'm serious. Like I have a 9-year-old right now, and I had the conversation with his mother the other day. He coming to get shoes and can get him some shoes and stuff like this. But she told me, hey, Charles, this nigga by daily is getting hard-headed and hard-headed. He won't listen to shit I say. So that's when we come in, and I have none of my, I have 6 boys, and none of them been to prison or every, most of them are college educated. They have their ups and downs. I'm not gonna say they're perfect, gentlemen. We talk on a daily basis and so forth and so on. We're in business together and we do different things together. But that's at that age, a woman cannot teach a man to be a man. And that's where we're falling short at. We're falling short.
I would listen to my mom. Don't get me wrong. I don't think I would have ever disrespected my mom. Right. But Also, I knew not to disrespect my mom
Yeah.
because if I disrespected my mom, my dad was gonna
What's
break
coming
my
through?
back.
What's coming
He
through?
was
But
coming
they
through.
don't have that.
Gorilla.
And then-
Ain't no playing.
But the guys who don't have that or never see that, you know what I'm saying? They're gonna, you know.
Yeah.
This-
And I was saying
the-
that deal too, like, you know, like Kelly, like I was always scared of my mother. And but it comes to a point in time where you start to feel you
you
grow
gonna
bigger
feel
and you
yourself.
like and you gonna start to test that. But then at that point too, man, like I have to say too, I had some examples and we'll talk about that later, but then I got into sports and I had coaches and stuff. And it kind of brought that structure back to where it's like, well, wait up, young buck. Like, yeah. So, but yeah, Mr.
When I was in school, half the teachers were men. The principal was a man.
Wow.
The superintendent was a man. You go to school now and you got mostly women. And they coddle these children. They coddle them.
Right.
And when I was in school, we had corporal punishment. You could hear that paddle echoing down the hall.
With the holes in it.
With the
And everybody got tense. And everybody got tense when they heard that paddle echoing down the hall. And they knew that they could be subject to that too. But there's no fear now in kids. There's no retribution.
Yeah.
There's
So
no
what does
retribution.
it go back to the systematic thing? Because they took all that out. Because I have a cousin now that has full custody of his kids, and his kids will tell him, I'll call DHS on your ass. You would do what, mother? You can't do that to me. You know what I'm saying? And he has full custody, and he's taking care of these kids, feeding them, taking them to school, clothing them, and everything. But you can't chastise them.
I think Benny, you brought a real good point up about, and I never even thought about that until you said it. Or then I thought back. The majority of our teachers were men when I was growing up,
Yeah, I didn't think
and the principal was a man, the dean was a man, and we knew the dean would smash you. You didn't think about I'm gonna hit the dean because he would beat your butt. He was the wrestling coach. He smashed you.
exactly.
So there was a respect. We couldn't stand what he was saying, but
That
we
goes
knew.
back to the Steve Harvey show that he used to have. Remember, he was the
Right,
principal.
yeah,
Well, he
right.
wasn't the principal, but he was the teacher.
teacher, yeah.
The sister was the principal. But they always looked up to what, the advice that he gave. Because it came, from a man's perspective or
But
whatever.
see, this is what happened though. Society changed. Men could be teachers back when we were younger and still take care of their family and have a decent life off the pay.
Right.
Men today, it's not enough pay for a man to solely take care of a family. The pay is actually for a woman to make money to assist the man with, because he's making more money in another field.
Right.
So the field became more ran by women because of men needing to get higher paying jobs and careers to do other things. And like you said, there's too much coddling going on. There's not enough of that male enforcement. Then the few male teachers that are there, they don't get the same respect because you're looked at as like, oh, they tripping because it's just one or two of them with all these other women coddling, and they almost become softer and all to blend in with the women.
With the feelings and stuff. Hey, Mr. Hayes, I want to, now, as far as like the economical job structure that's going on, say, we're in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street. I always got to emphasize that because it's a lot of things going on in this community. But how do you feel that the black man in the job search or field now, how is he being treated?
I feel if you're born in America, you've hit the jackpot. And you can make it here in America. I'm a 3-time loser. Been in prison 3 times. I still made it. I still made it.
Yeah.
You gotta want to work.
Exactly.
First. You gotta want to work.
I agree with that 100%.
And you may not like what you're doing. If you don't, then find something else that you want to do. But every day when I wake up, like I said, I've been in prison 3 times. I got out. I'm not bragging, but my home is paid for. I don't know anything on my cars. I don't know nothing on my credit card.
And that's a good feeling. Isn't that a
It's-
great feeling?
I wake up in the mornings, and when I look in that mirror, I smile.
Yeah, yeah.
And I look at it and I said, Brother Hayes, you're exactly where you deserve to be.
Exactly. Own something.
If you're grown, I mean, I don't care if you're in prison and you wake up and you look in that mirror, you got to say, Brother Hayes, I'm exactly where I deserve to be. And if you want to change, it's up to me.
That's real.
But there's no reason you cannot make it here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I mean, you can go just about anywhere and get a job making $13 an hour.
Right.
You got to, if you're broke, get 2 jobs.
Yeah.
I tell everybody, my senior year in high school, I had 3 jobs. I told you my father moved to Kansas City. I would go there every summer and spend the summer with him. But as soon as I could work, I got a job. But my senior year in high school, I worked in Kansas City. I had 3 jobs. In the morning, I was an elevator at Sears and Roebuck. I was the first black elevator operator at Sears and Roebuck at the main store in Kansas City on Truman Road. At night, I went and bust tables at Ralph Gaines Steakhouse.
That's right.
On the weekends, I cut grass.
It's 24
I cut
hours in a
grass.
day. Come on.
My senior year in high school, when I went back to college, I had a newer car than most of my teachers.
Right.
I'm not. I bought a 60. In 1967, I bought a 64 Chevelle Malibu Super Sport, and it was a 3-year-old car. I had a newer car in high school than I got now. But anyway, I wanted to work and I wanted things.
And I believe that too, though. It's jobs are out here. It's just if you want to do the things that the job, entails. You gotta go. You gotta crawl before you can walk. So if you don't want to do that job, I don't want that job. Well, do it for a little while, and then take them steps. You know what I'm saying? And build on that. You know what I'm saying? And my Mima always said this, and she said, if it's 2 jobs in the world, I'm gonna have one of them.
Amen.
She always said that, because I'm going to always be working. If it's 2 jobs, I'm going to have one of those jobs. So it's on the individual to get out there. And a lot of our black guys or black young men got to get off their asses and start just taking those little small jobs.
When I came to Tulsa, gentlemen, all the men had cars. All the young cats had cars.
Right.
And the girls was walking up and down the street looking nice. I'm riding around now, all the women is
got
driving
cars.
cars. And all the brothers is walking around sagging and looking at their phone.
Yeah, with their asses out.
With the asses out.
That's the thing too, and it kills me. I was somewhere and I forgot where I was. And I hate when I see a grown man following a woman because she's making, you can tell she's the one.
With the money.
Yeah, and to me, man, and there's no knock on that because, like I said too, it's some sisters that they got a great job, but like I said too, you're a man.
Yeah.
You have to make sure too that you're not just sitting there reaping. I mean, like I said too, yeah, the woman can, but you have to make sure that you provide equally. So, like I said, I can't stand that, man. That's just one thing that's a pet peeve of mine, and I see it and it's just I get mad because it's like, yeah, but. I do like the point that you said too, as far as, as African Americans, we might not like everything that goes on in USA, but the thing is we have an opportunity every day to get up and to do something and to be productive and to do something. I think we have to quit looking at things that we don't have and focus on the stuff that we do and build from there. So, but
and look in that mirror every morning and say, I'm exactly where I deserve to be. And go from there.
But with that being said, Mr. Hayes, we have a part of our show we do where we discuss what's Black Dad Code and what's not Black Dad Code. So I'm gonna ask you, in your opinion, what would be some things that should be Black Dad Code? It should be like we do as Black dads.
Pride. Have some pride in yourself. But pride can be a trap sometimes. But you got to have some pride. The pride in the way you look, the way you treat people, the way you act among other people, among your peers. Be an example. Be an example. I mean, be the kind of man that you would want your son to be. Be the kind of man that you would want your daughter to marry.
And that's the most part. Girls always try to find their father inside, of the guys that they date.
I tell all women, they choose the man. I mean, I don't care. I mean, you might go up to a woman and put on your little Mac and she says okay, but she has to say okay. The
Right.
woman chooses the man.
Yeah, she has
I
to
mean,
say
even
right.
in marriage.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
my sister was in a marriage she didn't like, and I told her, I said, well, you chose him.
Yeah.
You said I do. You chose the man. But a lot of people can't grasp that, but the woman always chooses the man.
Yes, you're right.
And this idea of marriage being 50-50 is bullshit because it becomes a competition. Listen to me.
What's marriage,
It
Mr.
becomes a competition. When you say, well, I've done my 50 cent, I'm done. It's your turn. No, it's 100%.
It's
You give
100 and 100.
Exactly. But when you say, if somebody tell you marriage is 50-50, bullshit.
That's what-
It becomes a competition.
That's probably one of the main reasons why we have so many divorces now, because people think it's 50-50. It's whatever it needs to be 100.
It's whatever it needs to be at each point in each time,
Exactly.
and that constantly changes and evolves as we change and evolve.
But as men, you got to understand one thing: women are needy.
Yeah.
Women are needy.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to broadcast it, but you got to realize it.
Yeah.
Women are needy.
Okay, so we discussed what is Black Dad Code. What is something that we need to stop doing as Black Dads because it go against Black Dad
Oh,
Code?
that we need to stop doing?
Yes, stop doing. It needs to change, or we need to start doing better.
Yeah.
Something that goes against Black Dad Code.
This form right here is impressive. This form right here is impressive. I can't think of anything. We've touched on the things that we need to improve. That means we have, truth requires change. That's why a lot of people don't go to the truth. It requires change. Like the things we've talked about today is true, and it's based on fact, but people sometimes they just don't want to change
don't
because
want to change.
that
You don't want
requires truth it requires change.
So I guess then the Black Dad thing to go against Black Dad Code is we got to start being truthful with ourselves. And honest with our situations, and then change the things we don't like or the situations we don't like to make them better.
If you don't like it, change it.
You don't like it, change
You don't
it.
like it, change it. If you don't like your situation, if you're a black young male in society today, you don't like the job that you have, if you don't like the relationship you're in, you don't like the community that you live in, change those things. Go out and go to school or look for a better job, find you a better woman, and do better things with your life. Because it all relies on you. And if you don't love yourself, how can you love somebody else?
True.
You gotta love the person in the mirror first. The man in the mirror. You have to love him first before you can love anything. And that took me a while to learn, myself. But you have to love the man in the mirror before you can go out and give any love to these kids, these women, these jobs. You have to love yourself.
Okay, Mr. Hayes, I got a tough question for you.
I like tough questions.
And then Kevin's gonna get into the Black Dad Code tough question. My tough question is, what's one thing that you would do differently as a parent?
Really, I don't like those kind of questions because there's nothing I can change. There really is nothing I can change. But my advice to any parent is hang in there. I mean, like I say, I've been married 44 years today, and it's been a bitch. But on the other side of the coin, my wife stood by me through 3 penitentiary sentences.
3 sentences.
3. So
That's right.
what do I owe her? I owe her everything.
You
I
owe
mean,
her
if
everything.
if I go home right now and the dishes is not clean, the house is not clean, I don't deserve I do deserve to complain, but I'm not. Well,
You're
because
not,
this
right.
woman stood behind me, her and her family, between 3 prison sentences. But let me tell you, the first time I was in there, I was out in 6 months. The second time I was in there, I was out in a month. They came up to me and said, well, Mr. Hayes, you don't even need to be in here. You're in for drunk driving. We're going to put you on a monitor. And nobody believed me, but I got out in 30 days.
30 days.
But the second time, and Judge Harris sentenced me to a sentence, I was in there 18 months. The worst 18 months of my life, but I endured it.
Why was the 18 months so long?
Okay, first, my lawyer said, Benny, I can beat this case. It'll cost you $30,000. He said, but no jury convicts a man of drunk driving. He said, I can beat the case, but it'll cost you $30,000. He said, or you can plead guilty and you'll go in for 6 months and do rehab. And I was drinking. I said, okay, I'll take the 6 months. Anyway, it took me 2 months to get out of Tulsa County Jail. When I got to the program, they told me it was a year waiting to get there.
To get to the
To get in the program. Anyway, I got in 3 months. When I got in the program, they changed it from 6 months to a year. So I got dipped.
So it was the system.
It was the system. But I never met anybody that didn't deserve to be there.
Yeah.
I just didn't.
I agree.
But honestly, everybody I met was a decent human being. But I was in for nonviolent. But everybody,
So you didn't make it behind those walls.
I spent one night behind McAllister. I spent one night in transfer. But I was in minimum security.
Okay.
I was in minimum security. And if you do a nonviolent crime in Oklahoma, you get treated decent.
Yeah, you're gonna be.
You're gonna get decent.
Well, Mr. Hayes, I'm gonna ask you the black dad tough question of the day. So, are any of your children gay or bisexual? And how do you feel about this from a parent standpoint?
None of my children are, but one of my family members is, a young lady. And my wife told me that she had mentioned to her that she felt like she might be gay. I discussed it with her, and she started crying. But I'm gonna tell you that she come from a very, very tumultuous background. Family members, but a beautiful child, but her family life was just pure hell. And she just confused. She was just confused. She really had no loving in her family. No, really. I mean, you got to hug them kids, man. You got to hug them and kill them and tell them you love them, man. You got to.
You gotta hug them, tell them you love them on a regular basis. As long as they breathing, you have to tell them that. I don't care how old they are, how young they are. You got to continuously tell them that you love them.
And
I'm
show
in your
'em that
corner.
you love 'em.
And show them. That's exactly.
And show them.
So, and this is, I guess, it's kind of maybe kind of feeding off that question. How do you feel about TV now and how they promoting just homosexuality on the TV shows and just showing that aspect of life?
Entertainment is pure escapism. I mean, it's designed for you not to think. Entertainment is. The industry now in entertainment is flawed. It's flawed to the point where their lifestyles, they're rich. They're rich people. They got plenty of money. They can do just about anything they want to do. And we have kids imitating these people that really can't keep up with them. But the climate now in television and in the media, even in the movies, it's for lack of a better word, it's demonic. It's demonic. It does not celebrate manhood. I mean, most of the pictures you see on TV, the men are passive. If they're not passive, they're gay.
Right.
And then they have really no authority. They have no authority. it bothers me. It bothers me that we're in this situation where this LTGBQ movement is being legalized. They clumped. They clumped interracial marriage with men and women marrying together. I mean, like, it's always been interracial marriage. I mean, not always, but it's.
But they put it together.
They put it together. Like, they want to legalize.
Obama.
They wanted to, exactly. They wanted to legalize sodomy. I mean, who in their right mind can visualize a man laying with another man?
But the country was built on that.
Or a woman
That's
laying
what
with
somebody-
another woman.
The country was built on that. The USA was built on that. And do the history. The country is built on that. Look at our founding fathers. Look what they were wearing when they signed the Declaration. That's all I'm gonna get on. I'm not gonna get us canceled or get nobody mad at nobody. But look at what they was wearing: wigs, makeup, stockings, and high heels. Come on. It's not. That's what the country is built on. That's it. You know. So either you deal with it or not. You know.
I don't have a problem with gays. I don't have a problem with gays.
Because to each his own. But that's what the country was founded on.
But it can't be celebrated. There's nothing to celebrate about.
They celebrate it everywhere.
It's almost like the roles have switched. It's almost like they have all the rights now, and those of us who aren't don't have the rights.
Right.
Because if you say anything at all that goes against what they want, then you're subject to
You're homophobic.
You're homophobic and all kind of ridicule and hate. And this is the thing. I feel they should be able to be whoever they want to be and not be discriminated against or treated right because they're human beings. But I also have them same rights to that if I don't like it or I'm not cool with it, to have that as a human being. I don't think because one group of human beings get their rights, another group should have to lose their rights. We all can have rights because you can be who you want to be and do what you want to do. Just everything ain't for everybody, you know, because the same way, you know, the gay people may be complaining about, okay, they're not giving us our rights. The child molesters may feel the same way.
Yeah.
The rapist may feel the same way. The killer may feel the same way. Every person who does whatever they do feel what they should be able to do is their business and right. But, and to a certain extent it is until it starts affecting and harming other people for no reason. And so therefore, if that's your movement, that's what you want to do, and that's what you want to be, and that's in your household, that's your business. I'm going to treat you like a decent human being if you act like one. I'm going to treat you with respect. I'm going to treat you with everything that you should get from how God said we should deal with each other. But at the same time, I'm not about to have you up in my house and all that up in my face.
Right.
Because I'm not comfortable with that.
But so we have to say, like, one of the Black Dad codes is going to be, we really can't force anything upon our kids. They're going to be what they're going to be, you know, because I have, you know, gay nephews. One of my daughters might be gay. You know, we sort of going down that road a little bit. She's young and they don't know. So a lot of they're impressionable with all the things that's going on now. But am I gonna love them less? No, I'm gonna still love them the same because that's what they choose to do in this environment that we live in. It's the environment that we live in. It's choice.
Yeah, man.
They have choices.
You know, that's the biggest thing I'll say to the whole deal. I think in that aspect too, like at the end of the day, we gonna love everybody and we gonna love our kids and we gonna accept the choices that they make. I think the biggest thing where people get a little worried now is because kids are impressed on what they see on TV, and they want to jump in that. Everybody wants to have a cause. And so, but the thing is too, with a lot of this stuff too, kids see certain things and maybe they jump into that and they really don't know everything about that. So in this deal, like I said too, we're gonna love our kids and we're gonna support them. It's just trying to see too, like, hey, how do we raise the kids and let them know about everything, not just this certain aspect they see on TV. And so
And I thought about it, and that's when they're the most loving. That's when your kids are most loving and the most vulnerable. But it impressed me that he would say that. And I feel the same way. I said, I wish, like you said, if I could go back and change something, I wish all my kids could be about that tall. That way I could.
They can still be tall.
Right.
Because that's when they're the more impressionable. And you can put that, emphasis on it. And that just goes back to say that we need to be around in all phases of the kid's life. When they're small, when they start to get taller, because they still have that energy when they was 2, 3, 4 years old. If you put that into them at a young age, because I've never had to hit none of my boys. And I have 6 boys.
Right.
I never had to spank them, whoop them, or anything, none of that. But I always put the fear of God in them.
Right, you start that young.
That's what I said, yeah.
If you instill that respect and everything out the gate,
Exactly.
you don't have to. Cause I don't have to. I never had to. I spanked Amira once when she was little because she was biting. And other than that, I've never had to spank her or anything. She don't get spankings. She don't get whoopings.
But
Nothing.
you have that
I talk to her
conversation.
sternly,
Yeah.
and
You have
I
that
get things
conversation
done.
with them. You gotta have that conversation with them when they're
So,
young.
Mr. Hayes,
Let me say one thing. My father was a stern disciplinarian. My brother left home because my father whooped him when he was 17 years old. My father whooped my brother when he was 17 years old. He made up his mind that he was leaving home. He went into the Marines and vanished. We never heard from him for 10 years. Finally, my father had to contact his commanding officer and command him to contact his family.
Right.
But he told me, he said, I left home because my daddy whooped me. But I'm gonna give you why he did it. My sister was dating a guy that my daddy didn't like. My son was home, my brother was home from college. He answered the phone, and the guy was on the phone and asked to speak to my sister. He gave the phone to my sister. My father didn't like it and whooped him. But he was very strict.
Yeah.
But go ahead with your
okay. So, what should be our focus as Black dads in regards to bettering our communities and roles as fathers right now in today's state? What should be our focus?
I think you ought to get involved in the schools. If you got children in school, go to the meetings. Go meet the teachers. When they have PTA meetings, you don't see no fathers there.
Hey, you know what?
You don't see no fathers there.
I've been at my sons and I've learned some things too because I've gotten to see like what school supplies that they short on, what things that they need. So it's just being a father is funny because like I said too, like I don't see a bunch there, but I've gotten to see that appreciation like what these teachers are needing because they're short on certain things. So yeah. I mean, it is a good deal for us to be
And
there.
then those teacher meetings when they have, like after the quarter ends or something like that, and you can go meet the teachers or see how your kids are doing, and those great. I wish when some of my kids I didn't do that with, but my younger kids now I'm starting to do that with, and I see how that helps mold them and make them better, That makes them better. That makes them better citizens.
I've been going to everything with my daughter from day one, and what I see is she feels special in everything her dad is doing.
Yeah.
He's a part of that.
Exactly.
And then I know all the kids in her class, and I know all her teachers, and everybody knows me, and I'm funny and this and that. She feels that like proudness, like that's my dad.
Yeah.
Okay, so Chuck, what's your final thought?
My final thoughts is the final thought that I would have today that we got to keep the community strong. We have to be willing to listen to our kids, sons and daughters, hear what they're saying. The mental is more important than anything. We have to check in on them on a regular basis. If it's not daily, it's weekly. You say, hey, just how you doing? How's everything going? How's school going? How's life going? And you do that on a regular basis. So my final thought would be like, let's check in with one another on a regular basis.
And Kevin, what would be your final thought?
I think it would kind of echo kind of what Mr. Hayes was talking about today, as far as the truth and being able to really look at that and learn from that, and not being afraid to accept that truth and build off of that. I mean, that's one thing too. Sometimes it's hard to swallow that pill. Sometimes it's hard to hear certain things that we don't want to hear, but at the end of the day, if we can hear it, take it in, acknowledge it, and build off it, it's only gonna make us better. So I second off of that.
And my final thought would be, we have to get to where nobody can't say anything to our children. We went from a point where the whole community was helping to focus and police children to where nobody better not say anything to my child. You don't get the right to check him. You don't get the right to tell him not to this, to that.
Or the village disappeared.
But the village disappeared, right, when you did that. Because then people went to mind their business. I can't say nothing to Susie's child. I'm going to have to fight Susie. So her and her little child, I don't say nothing to them. And that's where part of the problem came in. Because as mothers and fathers, and you're busy and you're working and your kids are playing, you can't be everywhere. Now, yes, we do not want abuse. You don't have to put your hands on my child, but we should be able to say something to other people's children and encourage a way, and then contact the parent and say, hey, I had to speak to your son today regarding these issues. That's something I think we got to focus on in our community.
Get that back
So we have to get that back in.
Yeah, I agree. Mr. Hayes, what are your final thoughts for today?
I want to thank everybody for inviting me today. I really enjoyed myself. I'm impressed with everyone here today. The rules are constantly changing in life, and I tell my son, I said, when the rules change, you got to change how you play the game. You got to.
Right.
We live in a society now where feelings have more value than truth.
Yeah.
And you got to find out what is true, what works best for you, and what works best for your family. But once again, I want to thank the gentleman here for inviting me today, and I really enjoyed it, and it gives me hope. It gives me hope that you all can continue this, and if I can ever do anything to help, it ought to be on every household's coffee table. I would encourage you to get it and read it. If you don't want to do that, go to Gothix, Gothix. It's a young lady that gives maybe a 15, 20-minute overview of the book. Very, very interesting. And another one she does is on Ivan Bezmenov. He was a Russian defector. The interview was in 1985, but he tells about what is called ideological subversion, which is the slow process of changing people's minds, which was implemented by the Russian government on the United States. But this is what in 1985. But it's Ivan Bezmenov, and you got to go on Gothix and watch that interview also.
It's been a pleasure of you coming. We appreciate having you and everything on the show and taking out your time with us. Black man, black fam, black fam. Thank you for watching Black Dad Code, where everything we do before family, nothing before family. On the next episode, we'll be interviewing Mr. Kevin Bailey. This episode of Black Dad's Code was brought to you by Pura Dispensary, the Greenwood Dispensary, and Major High LLC.